Gary Cronin, welcome to the League of Ireland podcast. Gary, how are you?
I'm okay, Jamie, yeah. Over the moon and on top of the world this morning, obviously.
Yes, huge congrats on your first job. Gary, I should say as well, I did tweet on Tuesday or Monday night to say I thought that Paul Doonan was going to be the new manager, so I'm wrong about that, so I do apologise. You're the new gaffer. Just explain to us how the job came about and how it feels to be the new manager of Bray Wanderers.
Well, to be fair, this time last week I would have thought the same as you, Jamie. You know, Paul is a very experienced manager, and I think it was just less than a week ago I got a phone call from Niall, and we met and we discussed, and his energy and enthusiasm was there, and you know, obviously I was looking for a good opportunity, and I felt this a great fit with the changes that happened at board level, and that's how it all came about. We met and we thought it would work together, so here we are.
Yes, in terms of those meetings, what did he say to you to make you want to be the manager of Bray? Because the last couple of weeks, you know, it's been a breath of fresh air across the club with Niall coming in. He spoke to us on the podcast in depth last week about his plans and that sort of stuff as well. So from that point of view, things are great. From the football point of view, the team is bottom of the league, 9 points from safety with 8 games left. So it's a big challenge. But what attracted you to the job, and what did he say to you to make you take it in the end?
Yeah, with a few common values and what way we thought, you know, a football club should be run and what type of people should be involved in it, you know. And we were on the same page and that type of stuff. So that was a big thing for me. Ultimately, he wanted a board. He wanted the people who were there, and anyone else running the football club, the football people going in the same direction. I wanted to achieve the same goals. That may have been lacking before. I don't know. I wasn't involved, but that's something that was definitely on my agenda, to have something in common in relation to that type of stuff. So once we were on the same page and we know where we wanted to go, how we get there, you know, I'll have my ways on the football side of things. Obviously, Niall will have his way in relation to his the relationship with his academy and Bray Wanderers now. So once we're going in the same direction, I was happy with that.
Who's going to be on your staff, Gary?
Haven't made. At this moment in time, Will Clark has helped me out, but he has a defined role, obviously, already, and that's his job. But I haven't made the appropriate phone call on that, so I won't say at this moment, Jamie. Yeah,
I did tweet to say I thought Will was your number 2, and your chairman Niall O'Driscoll tweeted to say I was wrong on that. So I'm sure you're still in the process of appointing your staff, because you only took the job, of course.
I didn't see these tweets now, but yeah, Will has been brilliant. Obviously, there's players that I've worked with there before. I've worked with at Longford Town. There's players I know from actually playing against, and there's obviously a lot of young players there that have come into the first team squad this year that I wouldn't know as well that Will does. So it's brilliant to have Will there beside me at the moment. But yeah, I'll be bringing somebody in.
Yeah, we just had Graham Kelly in studio just before you, who has been the caretaker manager a couple of times and on the staff for a couple of years now. He said he was disappointed when he spoke to Niall on Monday and was told he wouldn't be involved further. Was it an option to keep him involved, or did you just want to appoint your own staff and have a clean sweep as such?
Well, look, I haven't had a pleasure of meeting Graham face to face. Obviously, that would have been nice, but I just feel like when you're taking over a job, or your first manager's job, bearing in mind it's my first gig, that you have the people that you know well and that you worked with before, known a long time. That's not to say that couldn't have happened with Graham, but you know, I think it was important for me personally to have the people that I 100% wanted with me at the time. You know, so that was it. But you know, I didn't even get to meet Graham throughout the process, and that's understandable. You know, I had a similar experience with Longford when Neil came in. I stayed with Neil for the rest of the season and got on great with Neil, but you know, ultimately, you know, managers will take you what they want in, you know, and that's what happened in the off season with Neil, and you shake hands and move on, and that's football.
Yeah, of course, that's totally understandable as well, Gary, to want to have your own staff on board. In terms of you as a manager, as you mentioned, it's your first job as a senior manager. You were at Longford Town for 8 years, caretaker boss a couple of times and assistant to a number of managers, and you've just completed your UEFA Pro licence, Gary, so huge congrats on that, because I know there's a huge amount of work in that. What type of manager do you hope to be, and in terms of the learnings that maybe you've had from your time at Longford and the Pro licence, how will they help form you now as the number one man?
Well, look, I mean, you think you know a lot, or I never say you know it all. There's always learning there, Jamie, but you think you know a lot before you hit that pro licence. And I have to say, the stuff that you don't see that goes on in a football club, in the international trips, your peers and your colleagues, the learning from them was unbelievable, and I never thought I'd gather so much experience and learning from that, and you take that on into, add it to what you have. But for me as a manager, obviously I want to do well like all managers, but it's all about respect and integrity with players, and you'll get the best out of them from that. I've managed people before, I've managed people in my work life. Once you get their respect, once they believe in what you're trying to achieve, you'll get their respect, and you'll achieve more.
Yeah, in terms of the press release that came out, Gary, to announce you as manager, it did say in a full-time role. Just explain to us how that will work. Will you be only managing Bray Wanderers? Because I know you currently still have a day job, and how will that all work for you?
Well, look, that's at sort of early stages, Jamie, a proposal stage, and that will come out. At this moment in time, I work, so I'm doing the Bray Wanderers manager job, obviously, after work, and that'll be the case till the end of the season. And then there's a proposal and a review of that then at the end of the season from my point of view. When I fully know the details on that, I don't mind sharing, but until I do, I'll hold on to it,
Yeah, of course. If it's part-time or full-time in title, Gary, it's really a full-time job on top of the role in your real job, because even if you're a part-time manager in the first division, you're taking phone calls, you're taking training sessions, you're planning, you're thinking about it all the time.
Well, you know how football works, Jamie, and that's it. There's never a break from football. There's always something to be done, But look, come here. Every coach, every manager within the league would love to see League of Ireland be a full-time setup. Would love to be able to put all their time and energy and focus into the football side of their life. I'm no different. That's what I'd love to do. But sometimes, economically that doesn't work out for us all. So we obviously have to have other commitments as well. But I don't know any manager or any coach, even players, that if you give them the option and if they were well looked after on it, wouldn't take the full-time option in football. Yeah,
your first session, Gary, was on Wednesday night. You are preparing for this FAI Cup game against Finn Harps at the Carlisle Grounds on Friday at 7:45. I should have said your first session was on Tuesday night. How did it go, meeting the players, speaking to them and getting on the pitch with them?
Yeah, it was really good. I went straight down to the training pitch. The chairman, an introduction in the dressing room, they came down to me and we spoke on the pitch briefly. But to be honest with you, there'll be plenty of time for talking. I told them what I was all about. The players responded well in training, good high intensity training session, and we'll go again and prepare for Friday night's game. But ultimately what I was saying to the players is, obviously the league position is the league position, that's what it is. But this is a different competition on Friday, and we have a great chance of trying to get into the next round of a cup, as do Finn Harps. So it's all to play for on Friday. Yeah,
of course, your team have had this new manager bounce effect a few times. We're going from Dave Mackey to Graham, and then from Graham to Martin, and Martin back to Graham, and so on, and now from Graham to you. So you'll be hopeful that phrase, which does happen a lot of times, that a new boss does come in, you're there in a permanent role as well, that that bounce will help them in this match on Friday against Hearts, because of course the league form hasn't been good, but as you said there, the league doesn't matter this weekend. It's a cup and it's a chance to get through to the next round against the first division team.
Yeah, it is, and Hearts have been in great form actually since the last 6 games. They've been in fantastic form, so it's going to be a great challenge for the lads. But you're looking for that bounce effect. There's expectations of the players that they'll have for themselves as well to go out and try and win a game of football. So listen, it's what we all want to do. I want to go and win games. The players will want to win games. Nobody goes out to lose football matches on purpose. But we haven't spoke about the league. We're just focusing on this cup game on Friday. Yeah,
and I know from speaking to Graham Kelly earlier on, Gary, he just mentioned about the transfer embargo and that you're unable to sign any players. You've got to work with the squad that's there. What's your assessment of that group? And also reports last night on Twitter that the captain, Gary McCabe, had left the club. Is he still going to play for you, or is he finished?
Well, look, it's true. I mean, that's one of the downsides of it at this moment in time. There is 1 or 2 players that could be available to sign, but it can't happen. You've got to work with what you have there. In relation to Gary, Gary's no longer with the club. I didn't even get to meet Gary yesterday, but I think there was a mutual agreement made between himself and the chairman, and both parties were happy with that. And so I knew Gary well when he first came on the scene over about 12 years ago for Bray Wanderers in the League of Ireland career. I played with him. I played left back. He was ahead of me. Loads of time for Gary, but we move on, and I think both parties were happy with that. So the players that were there, the players that I work with, a lot of youth, some experienced players, and they all have a chance of being part of the project that's going forward for Bray Wanderers.
Yeah, Gary, last two questions. You mentioned the project there, and I know it's something that you're very interested in, and from speaking to Niall last week, he spoke about, the 15s, 17s and 19s in the link up with St Joseph's Boys, and the first team, whether that first team stays up or goes down, about trying to have a younger core with maybe some senior players in it. Just explain to me your thoughts on that, and it's been mentioned a lot recently with Shamrock Rovers as well about the good work they're doing in their academy, but trying to match that up with having a first team that wins, and your thoughts on the whole thing and being the kind of man at the top of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's relationships to be built there between the first team and the academy, and I think that's the same for all clubs. I know obviously the national leagues are coming in at the 13s levels now, and they're trying to build a pathway for these players to see can they get through to a first team. It's my view on it is you can't just put the focus solely on the academy, and then when they get to a first team, there's no proper structure there and so on. So my number one priority now is the first team. Then after that, we build a relationship, and there's a good structure there at the Bray Wanderers Academy at the moment. Will Clark has been there a number of years. He's a great person to have there. He knows the role. He knows the young players that are coming through. So I think I'm lucky in that respect that I have somebody with that level of experience at academy level to be able to bounce off. But look, we're all trying to work together. As we said at the start, it's everyone trying to go in the same direction. I met the under 19s and 15s coaches and players last night as well at training. There's a good structure there. The coaches are very good and very enthusiastic, and they seem to be looking forward to what's happening at the club. So I most certainly won't be just solely looking at the first team. We want a pathway there for young players, but let's be realistic as well. We need experienced players to help them along. I was a young player. I turned into an experienced player, and I always felt that I always gave something to the young lads that's invaluable on the pitch that sometimes a coach can't give, while the game is going on. So those experienced players are invaluable to younger players, as long as they're willing to learn. So we'll try and get a good mix of that.
That's the voice of the new Bray Wanderers manager, Mr. Gary Cronin. Gary, thanks so much for your time. Huge congrats again on your new job and on achieving the UEFA Pro licence. The best of luck on Friday against Finn Harps in the FAI Cup, and of course in the quest to try and retain the Premier Division status. Thanks, Gary. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. Bye now. Bye.
Yeah, you're on episode 26 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast. It is Jamie Moore here. In a moment, we're going to talk all things Wexford Youths in the Women's Champions League with one of their star players and the lady who scored their goal in the 4-1 defeat to Ajax. That's Rihanna Jarrett, who'll be along just in a moment. But firstly, the FAI Cup fixtures for this weekend, and it's going to be a busy weekend with games on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The games on Friday, first of all, we just spoke there to Gary Cronin, who's getting his Bray Wanderers team ready to play against Finn Harps in the Carlisle grounds at 7:45 on Friday. At the same time, in United Park in Drogheda, it's First Division High Flyers Drogheda United under Tim Clancy doing really, really well against Shamrock Rovers, and Stephen Bradley's team looking, of course, to make it to the next round of the FAI Cup. What a Dublin derby in store in Inchicore on Friday at 7:45 in Richmond Park. Inchicore Athletic against St Patrick's Athletic. You probably couldn't find two teams geographically closer placed than those two. Dundalk host Cove, which we mentioned it with Stephen Henderson. And the other three games on Friday, it's Shells against Athlone at Talca Park. It's UCD, top of the First Division against Pike Rovers, and Wexford FC hosting Bohemians. That's at 8 o'clock. On Saturday, Dublin Bus against CIE Ranch in an all non-league game. It's Blarney United against Derry City, and that game's at 5 o'clock. It'll take Derry a 6-hour bus trip to get to the game and 6 hours back. Bit of a long trip for them. Maynooth University Town against Leeds, and Skerries Town against Waterford, a game I'll be at, while North End United host Galway, and Newmarket Celtic face Cabinteely. Sligo Rovers against Athlone Town is the game at the showgrounds. Two games on Sunday. Home Farm against Cork City. That game is at 1 o'clock up there in Whitehall, and at 3 o'clock it's Cockhill Celtic against Limerick. We'll have reaction to all of those games and build up on Off the Ball across the weekend, and also on the That's What I Call Sport on 98 FM, which you'll find with myself, Jamie Moore, on Sunday.